Ace got talk.
Now, obviously, my question is to you lot, yeah? Do you feel like the older generation has, like, do you feel like it's the older generation's fault for man's predicament, or is it mainly us not being proactive in our current status? Because again, like man said before, like you said before, and I know you definitely disagree with what my man's saying, but we are living in a complete different time to back then. And I feel like now with the internet, we've got a lot more resources to actually make money. That there weren't no gig economy back then. You had self-employment, but we all know already that the hoops were a bit more kind of harder to jump through and whatever. But on the flip side, there was a lot of things that were cheaper. Two, a lot of people were coming from them places there with no money, but there was a lot more people practicing that element of group economics from the beginning. So they might say, "Rah, you know what, El, you're coming from Jamaica." He might say, "Rah, I got a cousin coming next month. Come and stay at my yard. You know one's there, fam." And then we can work that way. What do you guys like? Do you guys feel like these people have really like? Do you feel like the generation before us has really like just basically messed it up, or do you feel like they've put us in the position they wanted us to put us in, which is basically have a better opportunity to make it? I think I'll let Vicky start first, because obviously I know you watched the video. I'll try and put the video in actual edits, but I thought it's important to talk about that still. But large up, what's my man's name again?
Ace got talk.
Ace got talk, yeah.
No, sorry, the name on Facebook says Ace Ford.
Ace Ford, yeah.
But he calls himself Ace got talk.
Okay, cool.
His slogan is do the maths.
Do the maths. All right, cool. You have to big him up for letting him say his point, but we're gonna talk on it. So yeah, Vicky.
Good to pattern with him still.
Yeah.
Talk to him directly.
But I'll let Vicky go anyway. Vicky, you might as well chime in.
So no, I don't think. To be honest, I feel like people feel too entitled to things. I don't feel like it's anyone's job to pass anything on to anybody else, because your life is your life, and you can do, you get given that time to make of it and do with it what you will. Now, obviously, there's things that can put you in better standing to be successful, dependent on what it is that you want to do, and there's things that might hinder that progress sometimes. I feel as though the older generation brought us here and put us exactly where they wanted us to be, and I think that was enough work, because not one of us has had to get up and go to a country which don't want you there, basically, and do the lesser jobs to work hard and pay for family, pay to put food in your family's mouth, in terms of in that struggle, because it was a completely different time. Now, what I feel, and again, I don't want to just base it solely off my own experience, but what I feel is that, for me, if my parents got me this far, it's my job to now do things. And my mum does things. My parents have done things. So it's like, I could appreciate your hard work, and I can either look at it and feel like, okay, I'm going to sit here and you need to give me and you need to give me. Or I can be like, okay, I'm going to use that to motivate myself and also try to have the correct conversations with you. Because everyone's parents aren't going to be forthcoming, let's say, in just having those conversations. I also think there's something else to think about with him using the Asian family network as an example. Not all Asian families are like that. That's one thing. They're not all like that.
Yeah.
They don't all walk into their father's businesses. It's not smooth sailing for every single one of them either. But also to think about the amount of people that don't want to go into their parents' businesses. So their parent could have a shop and be like, come work in the shop, and they don't want to work there. And
That's true.
That goes for other people and other races who have businesses and their kids don't want to be in their businesses. It's just not what they want to do, whether they want to do something else or whether they just want to do road. Like, you've made that choice for yourselves. And so I think to turn around and point the finger and put the blame on the Windrush generation, to me, is just an excuse.
Yeah, it's, you know what, it's it's not, you know why it's funny, because it's like what you're saying is true, and I feel like there is that victimizing. It's something that Lin May was saying the other day on Instagram about the victimizing mentality that black people have.
Yeah.
And where man's in a situation in 2020 right now where you can sit down and look at the whole COVID-19 situation, which we'll get into later. But really, how many opportunities do you have to actually really make your situation better than when it was before? Now, like she said, parents have come over here, they've flown over here, or they came over here. I think Windrush was a boat, innit? Without even that even disturbs me, my mind for even having to say it was a boat. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just scary. Like,
It was.
I know it was a boat, but it's like, raw. Black people are coming back. We went on boats to somewhere else, and now we're coming back to the same people for.
Yeah.
You see the flashpoint. I know you understand that. But anyway,
I do.
but it's like raw. Like, I feel like what you're saying is true. I feel like there is an element of responsibility and accountability, and obviously my man. I'm not even dissing my man, but my man's obviously of a certain age, so
I like him.
you know I like. But
I like him still.
on the flip side, which I'm gonna let you touch on in a minute, is there is a disconnect with a lot of the elder generation now. So, for example, just basic things, yeah. My mum would be like, save your money. Why are you spending your money? She may see me buy like, I don't know, 3-4 pairs of trainers. Like, oh, why are you spending your money, saving money? I'm like, all right, cool. How? You just save your money. I'm like, all right, cool. But how? Like, man's 17 years old.
Don't buy those trainers.
But then you don't buy the trainers, but then it's like, what have you shown me which is gonna make sense for me not to look at these trainers as an investment? Because remember, as a kid, you're looking at them trainers as an investment. You're like, raw, like, these trainers are gonna get man the girls, these trainers are gonna get man looking fly. Where if you said to me, look, that £50, if you give it to me, or you save it in an ISA account, for example, by the time you get to uni, if you look at your how much it costs for your course, maybe yearly, by the time you get to uni, in how many years time, you'll be able to pay for your at least 1 year of your degree.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm coming from? Then I'm like, oh, right, okay, cool. I do want to go uni. It's now an incentive. Let me save my money. Whereas, obviously, let me just make this clear. Mum, I'm not dissing you. I'm just using it as an example because I don't want to get any problems.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, fam?
Shout out, mum.
But it's like, raw, like, there wasn't transparency and clarity with a lot of things that we were supposed to do. So I feel like we've had to kind of find our way. So the disconnect part comes from where, like I said, you know, not only telling you to do things that they may have not practiced or they may not have understood how to articulate or illustrate to you, but also just in terms of what was the real plan. Because a lot of people, as we know already from Africa, coming from Africa, a lot of people fled Africa due to a lot of government government coups that were going on back in them days. There, war, civil war, refugees as well. So sometimes there wasn't really no plan. It was just, we're in London, it's just going to be better. It's a survival thing. Yeah. And then they kind of get a bit upset when their youths don't go down the road they expected them to go, when you haven't really, you know what I'm saying?
It hasn't been conveyed, basically.
Hasn't been conveyed, innit? So obviously, I know Wayne, you know, I mean, touch on that, the whole disconnect part, because...
Well, all right, cool. Well, to give context first... Sorry,
yeah.
You're from Ghana. So, where you from?
Uganda.
Uganda, right. Now, my grandparents was on that boat that we're talking about. So, that's my 30 connection right there. Shout out my family in St. Thomas, Jamaica. So, cool. Now, I'll tell you this now. Our elders do have a responsibility to pass something down. Like, that's without a doubt. Anyone that's been, like, confused about how that works, let me just explain it to you. Let me break it down like this. Like... Say, for example, your daughter gets married. Man, I tell you right now, you need 30 bags because you're supposed to pay for a wedding, innit? That's the first thing. So that's like, let's just get it out of the park now. Because like when certain people talk to me like, right, how comes we're not married and whatever? It's because other cultures are doing certain things where they're patterning up their family differently, like, and they're leaving generational wealth. I'm not saying like, because I think when you hear my man talk, some people are just thinking, right, just give them money. That's not what we mean necessarily. But I think some people interpret it that way. And that goes back down to the disconnect as well, because it's not been explained. And also, even down to what you said about how parents didn't necessarily show us certain things, it's because they was learning as they was going on as well. So
yeah, that's true, yeah.
You can't 100% knock them. Also, some parents and some like of the Windrush generation, they did pass on things, but some of us weren't interested. Case in point,
that's true.
I'm one of the only man them, and I'm not dissing any of my cousins. Like, cousins, got love for you, but I know me, maybe a couple other cousins, we're the only ones that know how to do an oil change. You feel me? So what I'm saying is, our uncles, our dads, our grandparents, and whatever, they wanted to show us certain things. We weren't interested. We wanted that Sega Mega Drive. We wanted that SNES. You get me? We wanted them Jordans or them Air Forces at the time, or the Hirachis, like them time. We weren't paying attention to that, and I'd be compelled to believe that some of the things that were trying to be passed on to us. Maybe our parents or grandparents did want to pass it on, but it's like, yeah, but you need to finish school or do whatever. And some of us, we weren't doing that. We were smoking, we was going raving, we was having baby mothers and rare tear. And then they're like, well, later, like, he's not on it, innit? But his sister is, so you know what? I'm gonna support her. I'm gonna do this, and it's just what it is. Also, unfortunately, some people die before they could write a will. So you see how people squabble and argue over resources at funerals. I've seen it myself. You get what I'm trying to say. But what I will say, like, in a little bit of a disagreement to you, sis, like, our parents they are obligated to pass something on to us. However, they've also got to show us in terms of like what they want. So for example, if mum passes away but she's passing on a house, if she's like, right, look, I'm passing on this house, but I don't want you to sell it, I want you to keep it in the family or whatever else. Once you know that, you know to pattern up in it. So don't do something dumb like, I don't know, like blow money so that you can't service that house, because you know you got to deal with things like inheritance tax and rare tear. But that goes right back to what you were saying about the disconnect. You've got to make that clear, innit? Like, because when my gran passed on my mum's side, R.I.P., like, she broke it down where basically all of her children, they got a certain amount of money, but my mum wasn't there to get that because my mum passed away, so it went between me and my sisters. But then I got a little bit more than my sisters because I had a son. But she already had it planned. You get what I'm trying to say?
But why? Why did she have it? Why did your grandma have it planned? And because you see what it is for me, yeah. The whole, both what you're saying is actually
true. She
true.
had an advisor in it, like the person, because she was Jehovah's Witness, and the person who was in charge of her estate, it was a man that was at her church, in Jehovah's Witness church, the one in New Cross. So right now, not to digress, but already you can see the aspect of community there. Structure. You're in a Jehovah's Witness group. Now, I'm not talking about the religion, I'm talking about the people. Because you're around other people that may have practiced that same kind of thing, the advisor's like, no, you got to pattern up, innit? You got to pattern up a will, or, you know, just in case, you never know what could happen. So, this is my thing now. My thing is obviously, like, both what you're saying is actually true. I think what my man in the video, I get where he's coming from. I just feel like you need to have certain conversations with people that are bridging that gap. And you're right, and that's why, because it was Charmaine from Black History Studies. Charmaine Simpson, Black History Studies.
That put the video up, innit?
Yeah. She obviously had a discussion with him. I don't know if it was an argument or whatever, but she posted it. I could have read like what she wrote, but go and check it for yourself. But what would be good, is like if Charmaine and him could sit down, where someone like me and you and yourself were there to mediate the conversation and have it. Because here's the thing, people will get at him, but if you look at the comment section, the people getting at him, they're all old people. A lot of them, they're like they're people that's older than me, and it's like with me and with say him and even with say Charmaine and the generation of that he's referring to, they're not even connected to each other like that. They don't even really know what's going on. Now, whereas me, if I was chatting to man, I'd be like, I'm just making a lot of assumptions here when I say this, but he looks like a man that's, he's been about. Like, he knows certain man, innit? Like,
he's basically been on the roads.
I'm from Peckham.
He's been on the roads.
I now live in Brixton. And I know he knows someone from one of those two sides, or north, or something. Like, I can just tell. But I also know the Windrush generation that he might be referring to, that Charmaine was defending, those were people that were more in the whole activism world. You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. And he may not know what those kind of people are. Like, again, this ain't a diss to my man. It ain't like, I'm just kind of making a guess. I'm pretty sure he knows who Dr. Sebi is, for example. But he probably don't know certain other people like
that Amos Wilson,
or Les Henry, or
Dr. Claude Anderson.
He might know them now because they've been on the Breakfast Club and all that, but he knows the recent scholars.
But then right now, because obviously for me, I feel like right now at a certain age, can man still, what's the breaking point? Like for you, if you was growing up, Vicky, and then you was in a position where you realise, your parents ain't really patting up certain things. For me, like 18, 19, 20, like what age is it where you say, I'm just going to do for myself? Because I feel like if you want certain things to happen, like he brought up the Asians, for example, Now, one thing he needs to understand with the Asians is that what he's saying is partially true. what I'm starting to find now in the Asian community, there's a lot of the younger generation, like younger than me, like way younger than me, Generation Z, that basically they're not like what Vicky's saying. They don't want to inherit what their father has because it's not cool.
They got black girlfriends and they're listening to Pop Smoke.
Like all the kind of things there. So what I'm trying to figure out, where can we make that connection in the sense of like, all right, cool. The older generation, because don't get wrong, there's some old foot people, and I don't even mean to be disrespectful, yeah. But there's some old people that are but it's like, you know what it is. I want to make sure that man's able to have that open space to talk. So when a conversation does happen, people can obviously be open enough to kind of say raw. But I feel like the old foot generation, a lot of them didn't really do as much, and then they sit there. But you see what it is. You see what it is. I get where he's coming from in terms of the part of like like you didn't even show man basic things.
But here's the thing.
Like you would know as a certain cut, you would know as a grandmother, yeah, you would know. All right, cool. You know what? I know, for example, Auntie Dawn, yeah, and Auntie Cyril don't like each other. And I know if I die and I leave my will, and I really want to give it to Auntie Dawn because she's managed money well, she's done this and done that. But Auntie Cyril ain't got a penny to spare to her name, and she's always in issues. But she's my daughter. Yeah. I know it's going to be peak. Instead of them actually dealing with that situation, they kind of leave them to it. They're grown people, and then they basically, when they die, they just leave it to them to argue it out. But I feel like it's their responsibility to kind of say to them, look, like, you see this will thing? This is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it 50-50. Or if you, so-and-so, Auntie Cyril, want to actually get part of this will, you got to fix up.
100%.
Auntie Dawn, although I'll give it to you and whatever, I don't want you then to think that it's for yourself. This is for your children, or this is for... You see where I'm coming from? Like, I feel like they got to... I don't know. Like,
a little bit, because I think part of that is you have to remember that two grown people are still two grown people. If I choose to be ignorant and still not get on with whoever my sister is, there is nothing that my mum can do to make me agree to that, depending on how hard my head is. Yeah. Do you get what I mean? Even if she's explaining and it's like, this does not make sense for the bigger picture, we're going off the notion that everybody understands what the bigger picture is. The reality is that everybody doesn't understand nor see what the bigger picture is.
Or they may have different concepts of what
And I also think the thing to remember is they're coming from a completely different place and a completely different like culture. And I think that also plays into it, because if you're coming over from the Caribbean or Africa, the culture's there and not the culture here. So you've had to learn the culture that you're in, and that's why I think you made the valid point in saying they were still learning. So what can I show you if I'm still learning? I've come here as a grown woman. I've had my upbringing, I've had my growth, and now I'm in this foreign land. I've got to learn the ways, but while also putting food in your mouth and working. Do you get what I mean?
For me, that's why I say, what was the plan in it? Because it's like, like if the three of us right now say we're going to go to Ghana, like next, like January comes, we're going to go Ghana. We're going to empty out our savings, or we're just going to go with no savings and nothing. What's the first thing you're going to tell me? You're going to be like, well, why are we going Ghana? 2, what's the plan?
But I think we know what the plan was. The plan was to have kids, for you to come, have the kids here, or take care of your kids that you've already got, and or send back for kids that maybe still are back home. Have a family, have a safe space, and then build and have those kids go and be successful. It's kind of like the stereotypical type of thing where they say, African parents, they want you to all be doctors, lawyers, or whatever. There's a reason why there was a notion around those particular careers and why they're believed to be really respected, because in that culture, you're a standing member of the community and it pays a lot of money. But wait, let's say that was their notion. But realistically, the narrative has changed because people are more open.
I kind of wish that everyone did that still, Yeah, but you feel a lot more safe dealing with prostate cancer or chatting to an African doctor still. Yeah. Because I've got trust issues when it comes to doctors. Don't get me wrong, I'm not scared of going to the hospital or nothing. But you see like how you're seeing like certain articles now about the amount of black people that die under the knife and relative to everyone else, and you're starting to get paranoid. It's like, like worrying about feds, but we've got to start worrying about racist doctors, bruv. So in a way, maybe we should have done what our African like brothers and sisters were teaching us back in the day, like learn to be a doctor.
But I think they've definitely started to diversify
to deal with my open heart surgery still.
But this is the thing. I mean,
just saying.
I see it that way though. I see it as they're all one in one sort of mad conglomerate of people that have always been targeting us. So for me, it's like when I sit there and I try and understand the mindset of my mum and my dad and thinking, raw, like, what was you lot thinking? But then again, I guess they were sold a dream, innit? So
not just that. They was going off of a script that was relevant for that time.
Yeah.
Like, you see, like what I just said about it would be good if a lot of us did study like medicine and all that kind of stuff. It would have been good for us based upon what we're hearing now about the health service.
Yeah.
And like how it's treating black people and all the rest of it. I don't truly believe that was a reason that our African parents were telling us to do it. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
They were saying the same thing, but for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
You get me?
But yeah. You're right in that sense.
And
it was more.
Also, what you got to be aware of as well. This is me defending some of the elders now, or elders, because there's a difference. What you got to remember with a lot of them, just like how they was winging it and like they was guessing it and all the rest of it. When they first came over, it was a case of getting away, like you said, as a refugee, and then they came over here, and things keep changing, like, and now you've got social media. Now you've like things change every single minute, so it's like they could never even get really comfortable. Like retirement age has changed now. You get what I'm trying to say? Like even down to my granddad, because he was on the buses. That's the job he was doing, and then he went back to Jamaica, because for a lot of us the plan was come England, make your money, then go back home. But then what my dad pointed out is a lot of people, they came from Jamaica and they stayed. Go back. And then you're seeing like old black ladies on the 68 bus struggling and having mad health issues, and it's like, right, if you was like in the grill, that wouldn't be the case. Like you'd be a lot more healthier, you'd be in a better place. But also the violence in Jamaica, or the ones that's reported, that kind of worked on their brain to make them want to stay here. And there's just so many factors that they probably didn't even anticipate themselves.
So really and truly, everyone was just freestyling. Not everyone, but most people just. And now that's cool, because I understand to an extent. All right, cool. You know what? This is where we sort of come from in terms of not the freestyling element, but in terms of obviously having nothing and obviously struggling. Now we've got this one opportunity to go to England and whatever. Now I want to fast forward it to obviously now, yeah. Because for me, looking at that now, looking at obviously what my man's saying. My understanding of it now is that then we've got to really start looking at the next 100 years.
We do, but I one of the things I think that gets missed out here is we're dealing with people and they've had lives prior to, let's say, having a kid. So part of the question I kind of have to this guy is, well, what are you leaving for your child? Yeah,
that was where I was going to go as well.
And also because what you're saying is that because of your parents, you feel like you've been, let's say, shortchanged, or you've not been given or left anything. And then you're talking about the direction in which your life went in, where you're saying it wouldn't have gone that way if you gave me something or left me with something. That's one particular isolated case, because as we said, there's people that just weren't interested in what their parents were trying to give them. But if your parent has come from somewhere where they also have not been left nothing, and you're not understanding where your family's path has come from and what was happening, if that information generationally isn't being passed down, I swear I just made up a word, but if it's not being passed down, what do you expect them to give you? Do you get what I mean?
It's true.
And I think sometimes people forget, like, yes, the older generation, yes, they've got wisdom, but they're people too. They're people, they're the same ages that we have touched. They've been there. Do you get what I mean?
And what he needs to be aware of is, I mean, I don't know how old he is, but we're all getting older. And before long, our kids are going to be saying the same thing to us.
Yeah.
My son's 21 and my grandson's 3. I'm not trying to be having this debate for too long.
Yeah.
I ain't built nothing.
Yeah.
They're saying the same thing about me. You get what I'm trying to say? And also, I think the right questions ain't being asked either, because again, if I was talking to him on a level, I'd be like, okay, cool, so how old are you? Alright, cool, so where's your parents from? How old are they? When did they come here? What did they do? What did you do road? Like, who did you move with? Or what you was doing that with them, man? Them times. In that ends. Like, asking specific questions. And if I was to find out that he was moving with a certain set and they was making money at a certain time, I'd be like, so what happened to that money then, cuz?
Exactly.
Like, but again, like, say it's not, again, that wouldn't be the kind of question that my friend Charmaine from Black History Studies would ask him. She wouldn't know to ask him that. But then if I was on his side, the questions I'd be asking is, all right, cool, Charmaine, I get you in what you're saying, but the elders I'm talking about are the ones that did this, and that. So, for example, the elders I'm talking about right now, shout out to some of you, man, that you might be watching this now, or your daughter's probably watching this and she sent the video to you because of what I'm going to say next. You've got about 12 youths, fam. You've got about 12 youths. And maybe the last set of youths you're doing the right thing for. But the other youths you left behind, who might all be daughters, they're mad in the head because you wasn't really doing your job, innit? And like me, my friend here, we're having debates with your daughters because you never did your job. You might be the man that this brother's talking about. And we know you had peas because we saw the Polaroid photos. The Polaroid photos with you in a BMW, a white one, with the fluffy dice. You get what I'm trying to say? And these are the things I'm saying that certain people...
Moving like Master P,
like,
you know what's there?
But my man, he might not know to even say them things. Like, even when because some people, they don't know my age, or they think, how old is this guy? And I like that because it allows me to get into certain conversations and ask certain questions that they're not expecting. You get what I'm trying to say? But whenever I speak to an older person that I think might be guilty of what I'm talking about, that tries to finesse me, I just show them my vinyl collection. And it's like, well, I've got the same records you got, big man, so that means I know a lot more than you think I know. So think about before you lie, innit?
Yeah,
so he could be talking about them elders there, because there are a lot of men like that. You get me? Like it's a dude, and he's got bare youths. He had money once upon a time, but now he's kind of like maybe just getting support from one of his children. The others ain't really talking to him that much because there's a lot of elders like that. So for all we know, those are the elders he might be talking about, and the elders that Charmaine thinks he's talking about, it's not the same people.
You know what? I think
you only find these things out by asking the right questions.
100%, and I feel like it would be very good to get both of them on the podcast and that to kind of talk about, you know, because I feel like obviously if we can have that conversation on camera. Because I don't think my man's that young. What would you want? Maybe he's 30. I don't know. I don't know innit? But I feel like with him, I think with us and him, Charmaine, and I feel like it would be very good to build on that, because the conclusion personally, really, I feel is obviously if you have them conversations, and like Vicky's saying, if people are going to be adults and be ignorant and not listen, cool. You just carry on and keep building. But you got to look at, for me, looking at what he's saying, and obviously what we spoke about just now about just the fact that people are kind of changing. Like I can't turn around and say to my son, "Raw, like, you know, I did what I could here and now because of what was going on here and now." When I fully well know in my head that it's going to change in 10 years' time. Yeah. I've got to really pattern for him and say, "Raw, when he's 30, what's going to be a good investment for him? You know, is it going to be gold? Is it going to be land? Is it going to be like, raw, am I going to be saying to my man, you know what? The whole buying a house or real estate thing,
invest in technology or something.
Yeah, like what's it going to be?" And I feel like that's the innovation that we need to carry in it. So
I think even just bringing kids in on what you're actually doing, because times change. So what you might think would be a good idea in 30 years may not be, but it's just having those conversations and leaving that forum open so that you can talk about it, because your kids will know things you don't know about.
Yeah.
And with the same token as well, some of the things that you teach your kids, they might not be interested at the moment, but they might remember it later on when they do need it. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember Uncle Jess showed me this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember Vicky showed me this and Wayne showed me that. And like for the whole year, like there's bare things I've showed my son and he ain't paid, in certain cases, he wasn't interested. But the amount of things I've taught him, I know that when the going gets tough, it'll kick into his head and think, okay,
they revert back to,
I need this tool. Like my son hasn't been in that situation yet where he's broke down on the motorway yet. You get what I'm trying to say? And when that comes, that's when he's probably going to phone me. And then I'm going to be like, boy, remember that thing that I told you to buy? Boom, 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 having the toolbox. Yeah, that's what you need, innit?